Hey, what's up, guys? A lot has happened in the last week since we last had the last Bracketology video. We see four of the top five teams go down. There's been upsets galore throughout the top 25 and throughout college basketball. It's just college basketball is really getting going now. Conference play, we're getting into the full swing of things. Conference play, it's getting really fun. And so this is going to be a good video because there's quite a bit of shakeup in this week's bracket. We see definitely several teams move down or up a seed line or two. A couple teams drop out, a couple teams move in. So yeah, with that being said, let's jump into it. So we got to start off. We got Purdue versus Eastern Kentucky, Lafayette. I think Purdue, either team, they should be able to get by either Eastern Kentucky or Lafayette fairly easily. Now we got Ole Miss Gonzaga. This is actually a pretty interesting game because this is not your vintage Gonzaga team. I actually thought they were going to go down to like a 10 or 11 seed here after losing to Santa Clara last night. Big win for Santa Clara. They hadn't beat Gonzaga in a long time, so it's very cool they got to beat Gonzaga. But this Gonzaga team has not been very impressive. They don't have hardly any good wins. So yeah, I am surprised to see them still at a 9 seed. But here they are facing Ole Miss, a team that only has one loss, and that one loss is at Tennessee. And they just destroyed Florida on Wednesday. The shot blocking was impressive from Ole Miss. Ole Miss is really an impressive team. And having watched both these teams, Ole Miss is clearly the better team to me. Maybe Gonzaga gets things figured out and they start to look better. But as things are right now, I think Ole Miss is just the better team. They're playing better basketball right now. So give me Ole Miss versus Gonzaga. And now we got Oklahoma versus McNeese State. McNeese State was the kind of the Cinderella team in last week's Bracketology, and it's a team I still think could really actually make some noise in March and be kind of that Cinderella team. Now they're all the way up to a 12 seed this year. Will Wade has done a fantastic job there. But I actually like Oklahoma to beat McNeese State. I think Oklahoma is a lot more solid across the board. They're just a solid, balanced attack that they go by. Porter Moser is a fantastic coach. Uzan is starting to play better basketball. He's been more efficient. His efficiency's coming up. And then Owe is one of the most efficient guards in the country. I really like watching him. He's a winner. He's a winning player. So give me Oklahoma here in an interesting 5-12 game because McNeese State is such a good team this year. Now we got Marquette and Samford. Marquette has not been playing as good a basketball recently. Kolek had a really off night in one of his worst games he's played in a long time. Went 1 for 12, and Butler beat them. Was that 2 nights ago, I believe. And Samford's playing pretty good basketball. They've been a pretty good team now for a few years. I think I like Marquette here still. Marquette just has good, experienced guards. They've been in the big dance. Kolek's a top 3-point guard in the country. When you got that type of leadership running the team, that's huge. Shaka Smart's been there, done that. So I do think Samford can make this game close. I do, but Marquette's the better squad. I think Marquette gets by. Now we got FAU and Princeton, and who the heck knows what to expect out of Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic, they're as hard of a team to read as there is in college basketball. They almost lost to Tulane last night, almost blew a lead. And so I'm having a hard time knowing what to think of Florida Atlantic right now. They have talent, they clearly do, and when they have it all put together, they can almost beat anyone in the country. I mean, the Arizona win proves that. They almost beat Illinois, beat Texas A&M. So it's a good squad, but right now they're not playing great basketball. They're pretty mediocre looking right now. Princeton's playing really good basketball. They've only lost the one game, and they're one possession away from being undefeated still, and people talking about Princeton even more so if they were still undefeated. So at this point, I'm thinking we're seeing an 11-over-6 upset here because FAU is looking pretty mediocre right now. They're not looking very good. Now, after, as the season progresses, Florida Atlantic might figure things out, and I might change my mind. But as of right now, give me Princeton here in 11-over-6 upset. And now we got Duke, Vermont. Vermont's a team, we always see in the tournament. They're always a threat. Vermont's always a threat to upset somebody in March. I like Duke's experience this year. I think I think they're hungry. I think, they have an experience that they don't often have. An experienced point guard in Jeremy Roach. Proctor decided to come back. Obviously, Filipowski, him coming back was huge, especially when he could have been a lottery pick. So this team, they're going to want it. I don't think they're going to get upset in the first round to this Vermont team. But Vermont's always a threat, though, so it would not just shock me if Vermont upsets somebody in March. Now we got Nevada and Ohio State. I really like what Nevada's done this year. The experienced guard play out of Nevada, Jared Lucas, Keenan Blackshear, fifth-year seniors, they got extreme experience on this Nevada team. They got good length, too. 3 of their starters are 6'9" or taller, and then Blackshear's 6'6", so I like the length in Nevada. Good shot making from the perimeter, Jared Lucas. Give me Nevada here in this one. I think that's a fun 7-10 matchup. I really like what Nevada's done this season. Now we got Tennessee versus Troy. I don't know too much about Troy. I think Tennessee gets by fairly easily. Now let's go back up to the top here. Let's go with Purdue, Ole Miss. This is a fun matchup. I think Ole Miss, I mentioned it in last week's video. I think Ole Miss actually matches up pretty well against Purdue across the board. I think they give Purdue all sorts of trouble, and I think they give them a huge scare here because Jamarion Sharp, 7'5". Now he's a lanky dude. He's not strong like Edey, but he's 7'5". Then you got Cisse, a 7-footer, who's an absolute beast on the inside, interior defense wise, and Cisse. So I actually do like the way they stack up. I think the guards match up well with Purdue's guards. I think this is a fantastic game, and I think it's closer than a lot of people might think off rip. I'm gonna go with Purdue here, but Ole Miss would give Purdue, I think, all they could ask for. Now we got Oklahoma and Marquette in a 4-5 matchup, a battle of Jordan schools, actually. I think there's like 10 Jordan schools in the country, and these are 2 of them right here. This is a good game. I think I like Marquette's upside more as far as making it further into March, even though I do think this is a really good balanced squad from Oklahoma, and they're really exceeding expectations. I like what Porter Moser's doing with the squad. I think Oklahoma's program in general is just going to keep going up. I think they're going to keep going up, and they're going to get better and better. But I do like Marquette's chances to win this game. The experienced guard play and good outside shot making ability with Cam Jones, and so give me Marquette here, but I think that's a fun matchup. Fun matchup between the Jordan schools. Now we got Duke and Princeton, and we definitely could see Princeton pull off another Cinderella run. We definitely could. This Princeton team's capable of that. But I like Duke's. I mentioned their experience. I like their experience, but also I like the freshman guards are coming along though. You see Jared McCain's been playing good basketball lately. Mark Mitchell's not a freshman, but he's really making some strides lately. He's coming along. He had his career high the other night. And so give me Duke here and to stop the Cinderella run. I think Duke's definitely got a good chance to make a run just because of the experience mixed with the rising freshmen this year. Now we got Nevada, Tennessee. The experience in Nevada, is something, it almost makes me kind of want to pick them here in like a 7-2 upset. But I do really think this is a fantastic Tennessee team. They stumbled a little bit against Mississippi State the other day, but that's just when you play a team like Mississippi State on the road, Mississippi State's going to make things ugly. And so you can't look too much into that game, I don't think. I think this is still a fantastic Tennessee team. I think they'll get by Nevada, but Nevada, they got a solid squad. I'm looking forward to seeing them play tonight against Boise State. But give me Tennessee here. And so let's go back up to the top. We got Purdue, Marquette, fantastic matchup. One we saw earlier in the year, we saw Purdue win a close one. I think it matches up pretty well. I think Marquette probably has, I'd say Marquette probably has slightly better guard play, slightly, because Braden Smith is phenomenal. Lance Jones is such a bulldog, good defender, and he's been hitting better from the outside lately. This is such a good matchup. I'm having a hard time with this one. I'm gonna go Purdue here because they beat Marquette earlier in the year, and Marquette is not playing their best basketball right now. Purdue coming off a loss too, but Nebraska could not miss from the 3 in their loss. But give me Purdue, but that's a fantastic matchup. I could definitely see it going either way, but I'm definitely leaning like 65% towards Purdue. Now we got Duke, Tennessee. Duke Tennessee is a fun matchup. When we saw last year's tournament, like 85% of people I think picked Duke to beat Tennessee that game. I was one of like the 15% to pick Tennessee because I do believe in their defense, and I like the experience on Tennessee. And what is different about this Tennessee team is they have Dalton Connect, a guy that can just really get them a bucket when they need to. That's something they didn't have last year. They were able to beat Duke last year without that. Now Duke is probably a little bit better this year than they were last year, but not probably. They definitely are. But give me Tennessee. I think I like Tennessee to beat Duke. I think it's a fantastic game though. Now we got Purdue, Tennessee. We had this one in last week's. It's 1 versus 2 seed, but we had this also in last week's bracketology. I went Tennessee in that one. I think it's so even. I think it's a coin flip game. It truly is. They do match up well against each other. I think it's pretty even across the board. But I'm going to go with Purdue and Zach Edey having maybe a great game here. And let's go with Purdue winning this one because I can definitely see it either way. These are two fantastic teams. So let's go with Purdue over Tennessee to make it to the Final Four. Now down in the bottom left portion of the bracket, we got Arizona, South Dakota State. Let's go Arizona. Now we got the Johnnies versus Nebraska ball. Nebraska, we just mentioned how great they played against Purdue. Just on Tuesday night, I believe it was, maybe Wednesday night, getting the nights mixed up. But they played so awesome. They just couldn't miss. Tomi Naga was hitting threes. Wilcher was hitting threes. Hoiberg's son off the bench was playing great. It was fun to watch. And the Johnnies are fun to watch too because seeing Patino do his thing and bring them back to relevancy so fast and is really impressive. But give me the hot team right now. Give me Nebraska. They've been they're still searching. I think they have never won a NCAA tournament game. I think they're still searching for one. I could be wrong on that, but I think they've never won one. So give me Nebraska to get it done and to get their first win. Now we got Memphis versus Drake. Drake actually beat Nevada. Nevada's only loss is to Drake by 19. This is another solid Drake team. Drake's been a solid mid-major now for some time. I could see Drake pulling off the upset, but what makes me think Memphis would pull this one out is just the experience of Memphis. It's one of the oldest teams in the country. They got Tomlin in now. He's coming off the bench, but they have Naquan Tomlin just adding more depth to that team. The Kansas State transfer. One of the only times we've ever seen an in-season transfer, I think maybe ever. But yeah, so give me Memphis here. I think the experience plays a big factor in that one. Now we got San Diego State and High Point. I will say I'm not too familiar with High Point, and I wish I was, but I'm not too familiar with High Point, so I can't say whether I think they're the type of team that can pull up an upset here. So I'm gonna go San Diego State because I do know San Diego State. They're a solid, reliable team that plays good defense. And they were just in the championship game last year. Obviously, they've lost some talent since then, but give me San Diego State. And Jaden Ledee is tough for anyone to stop, so I imagine High Point would have a hard time with Jaden Ledee. Now we got Colorado State, Grand Canyon. I absolutely love Isaiah Stevens, and I do like Colorado State. They're definitely one of the mid-majors I like the most, but they're not playing great basketball right now. Both Colorado schools are slumping. One of my subscribers, Ishan Ali, was talking about that the other day. He's like, yeah, it sucks to see both Colorado schools slumping right now because they are. But Colorado State's still a good team. But I like the upset here, actually. I think Colorado State doesn't have a ton of weapons outside of Isaiah Stevens. They do have some. Ncaa, Clifford, he's an option. Josiah Strong is injured right now, but he can be an option. But I think Colorado State could be susceptible to get upset, and Grand Canyon's playing really good this year. So let's go with Grand Canyon. Now we got Auburn and Oakland. And Auburn, this Auburn team is the best one I've actually seen in 3 years, and that's including the 2-seed Auburn team that started out like 25-2 a couple years ago. I think this team's better because the guard play is much improved compared to those teams. They're more even across the board. The guard play is good, and I could see Oakland pulling off an upset here. I definitely could. I think Oakland can make this close. Oakland had several close games against Power 5 teams earlier this year. They even upset Xavier earlier this year. So I could see Oakland actually pulling off the upset, but Auburn does have better guard play, and so I'm going to go Auburn here, but I would not be shocked if Oakland won. Okay, now we got Nova, Northwestern. I actually don't really see why Nova's a 7 seed. They're hanging on to a couple good wins earlier in the season, like beating North Carolina and things like that, but I'm not really sold on them being a 7 seed right now. This is kind of a battle of two. I don't know. Don't want to say battle of two mid teams. A battle of two just okay teams. I don't know. Nova's not been playing very good at all recently. I'm going to go with Northwestern here. Not that Northwestern's been playing necessarily fantastic either recently, but they've been. I think they're better. I don't know. I really don't know on that one. That one's tough. I'm going to go Northwestern though. Okay, now we got Kansas versus Eastern Washington. Let's go with Kansas here. And now Kansas, Northwestern. I just don't think Northwestern could match up with Dickinson very well at all. I think Dickinson has a big-time game. He goes like 25-10 and is able to beat. And they're able to beat Northwestern. We got Auburn, Grand Canyon. I want to go with the Cinderella here. Let's go Grand Canyon to beat Auburn. I did say I do like the better guard play for Auburn. I do think this Auburn team is definitely the best they've had, but I want to see a little Cinderella here. Let's go Grand Canyon on to the Sweet 16. Now we got Memphis, San Diego State. A battle of two solid, pretty veteran teams here. A matchup that definitely could go either way, but I am conflicted on this one, but let's go. Give me Memphis here. I like the experience. Now they got Tomlin, they got depth. You got Quinterly, one of the oldest guards in the country. Quinterly at times has not been great in his college career, but at times he's shown greatness. And especially this year, he's been really good this year overall. Give me Memphis to beat San Diego State. That's an even matchup though, one that could definitely go either way. Now we got Arizona, Nebraska. Nebraska's elated about getting to the second round here. But I think they probably would lose to Arizona. I think they get brought back down to earth, but it's still a super successful season for Nebraska. Let's go Arizona. Now we got Arizona, Memphis. This is a good game. This is a close battle. Memphis did kind of scare me. They almost lost to University of Texas San Antonio the other day. They snuck out a double overtime win. But teams slip up against teams all the time. So let's go Memphis over Arizona here. This Arizona team, I think they have the potential to win it all. That's why I had them doing it last week. But I also think they have the potential to go out early. They've proven that in years past. So let's go Memphis. I just love the experience of this Memphis team. Let's go Memphis to the Elite Eight. Now we got Kansas, Grand Canyon. I think Kansas gets by Grand Canyon. I think they have a tough time shutting down Dickinson. And even though this isn't one of the best Kansas teams in recent years, I still think this Kansas team has enough to make a run in March. They just need more outside shot making, and that's what I think holds them back. I think they don't have enough perimeter shooting right now. Maybe Furphy takes a step and he becomes that guy, but I'm gonna go Memphis over Kansas. We see another 5 seed into the Final Four. I know it's crazy to see Memphis in the Final Four right after almost losing to University of Texas San Antonio, but just the way this kind of shaked out, I think we could see it happen. All right, so let's go to the top right corner. We got Houston versus Merrimack or NC Central. Give me Houston. Now we got Utah, Mississippi State. Utah just blew the doors off UCLA. Now this is not a great UCLA team or at all. They're actually quite bad, but still they beat them by 46. So respect to Utah for that. Mississippi State coming off that huge win against Tennessee. This is a good even matchup, but give me the one of the best defenses in the country here. Give me Mississippi State. I like Mississippi State's team this year, especially now that they have Josh Hubbard, who can really get them points off the bench. I think that's huge. Now they have a guy that can kind of create his own shot. And Tolu Smith has been really good this year again, as he's been in the past. So I like the Bulldogs there. Now we got Clemson, Oregon. Clemson definitely did not have the comeback game I thought they were going to have. The bounce back game, against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech kind of handled them fairly easily that game. That surprised me. So Clemson's in a bit of a rut right now. But I think they have enough talent to get by Oregon. I think Clemson still has some really good players, and P.J. Hall, Chase Hunter definitely has some good games. Joe Girard can get hot from three, so I like Clemson to get by that one. But I like this next game because Akron has all the potential in the world to be great, but they also have the potential to be kind of mediocre. Akron's been really good. John Gross, Akron's coach, he's doing a great job over there. I think Akron can pull off the upset and beat Creighton, and so that's a big 13-4. I think Akron's got a good chance to pull off an upset in March this year. All right, so now we got Dayton versus South Carolina or Colorado. Colorado is really in a slump right now, and then South Carolina. I think when it's all said and done, South Carolina is probably not going to be in the tournament. I think they're really exceeding expectations, and also they're outplaying their talent level, I think, right now. So I think Dayton can get by either of those teams. And now we got Kentucky versus Drexel. Kentucky has played down to some opponents this year, but Kentucky, I think, will continue to get better and better as the year goes. I think they beat Drexel. Now we got Utah State, Texas Tech, a matchup we saw in the 2021 tournament, so 3 years ago now, but Texas Tech won that matchup. I think they win again barely. I think it's close. Asabor from Utah State has been fantastic. He's averaging 19 and 11, I believe. He's been fantastic. Danny Sprinkle's doing a great job coming over from Montana State. What he's done at Utah State needs to be talked about more. It's actually quite remarkable. He brought in all of these guys are transfers. He brought them in, and he's put together a team. I love Utah State's point guard too, Darius Brown, one of the best passers in the country. People don't talk about him enough either. I do like this Utah State team. I think Texas Tech, though, sneaks out a close one. Just because we haven't got to see Utah State play a bunch of high-profile games yet. They proved it. They beat Colorado State the other day. So I would like to see Utah State more, but I might switch that opinion. But for now, let's go Texas Tech. And then I'm going to go with the shocker. I don't have too much reasoning behind this, but we know how many big-time upsets we've seen in college basketball in the tournament in the last few years. I'm going Jacksonville State over Wisconsin. We do know that Wisconsin at times does struggle to score the ball. Not as much this year as in years past, but especially with Storr and Klesman's coming on and Wall's still there. But I'm going big upset. Actually, when you go to the top, we got Jacksonville State beating Wisconsin. Now we got Houston versus Mississippi State. And if that Houston-Iowa State game is any indication, Houston, when they face another elite defensive team similar to themselves, they might struggle. Iowa State definitely made that game tough for Houston, and Mississippi State's a team that plays with a similar defensive tenacity. Mississippi State and Iowa State do. So give me Mississippi State to win in a similar game to what we just saw in the Houston-Iowa State game, like a 57-53 tight game. Let's go Mississippi State to pull off a huge upset. Now we got Clemson versus Akron. I think Akron's capable of making a run in March. I think Clemson's size, though, is a problem here. I think most mid-majors have a problem with Clemson's size. I really do. So let's go, especially with guys like P.J. Hall and Shefflin and guys like that. So let's go Clemson. And now I'm going to go, or actually, my fault. Let's go down Dayton to Kentucky. Dayton versus Kentucky. I'm going to go with Kentucky here because I think Kentucky, as the season goes on, they're going to continue to get better and better. Their freshmen will continue to improve. I think you can definitely believe that Kentucky will continue to get better. I definitely could see Dayton pulling off maybe a little upset there, possibly, but I like Kentucky to win that one by a good 8 or 9. Now, Texas Tech versus Jacksonville State. I think the Cinderella ends, no Cinderella run, and we got Texas Tech beating Jacksonville State. Now we got Mississippi State versus Clemson. And, you know, the way Clemson's playing right now, I got them in the Sweet 16, but that's just because of matchups. I actually would like, if this matchup happened, I think Mississippi State beats Clemson and makes a shocking Elite Eight run. I just like the way this kind of worked out for Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State can make it to the Elite Eight here if they could get these matchups. So I'm going to go Mississippi State. It's tough picking a team that is sort of offensively challenged to make it to the Elite Eight. It is tough because you got to be like, how are they going to find offense for 3 consecutive games? I'm just going to say they make things ugly enough, and the defense carries them, and they get enough off special offensive performances game after game, and they can make it here. I do like teams that play tremendous defense, so maybe that's a little bit of a bias. But so we got Mississippi State in the Elite Eight. Now we got Kentucky versus Texas Tech. I think Kentucky just has more talent in general, and let's go Kentucky. So it's kind of a chaos region right here. We got Kentucky versus Mississippi State in the Elite Eight. What a weird SEC Elite Eight matchup here to make it to the Final Four. I think the run ends here. I was talking about the offensive woes sometimes for Mississippi State, and I think they don't get enough points, and Kentucky beats Mississippi State. But definitely a Cinderella run. Not a Cinderella run, but a interesting run to the Elite Eight Mississippi State makes. Now we got UConn versus Southern. Let's go UConn, obviously. Michigan State, A&M. I got to see the Illinois-Michigan State game last night. It was really fun. Really fun to watch Tyson Walker. He's a guy I wanted to see in person. So seeing him in person last night was definitely fun. He's definitely an electric player. And then A&M's got a great backcourt too. This is 2 really good backcourts going at it. Tyson Walker and Hogard. Hogard hasn't been great this year, but Hogard can be good at times. It's still 2 good backcourts versus 2 good versus kind of mediocre front courts. I'm going to go Michigan State here. I'm going to say Tyson Walker drops a masterpiece, a classic, and puts up like 30 and beats A&M. I think it would be a fantastic game. It's pretty evenly matched. Now we got BYU St. Mary's. I'm wearing a BYU shirt right now. Definitely one of my favorite teams. And BYU has struggled recently in their last 2 games. They definitely played better against Baylor, almost beating Baylor on the road. Would have been a pretty big-time win. BYU is a team that shoots the 3 ball super well. Sometimes they can struggle when they aren't hitting the 3 ball because they do rely on it so much. And St. Mary's would not be a team that BYU would want to see come in a 5-12 game come March. But I think BYU has enough offense to get by St. Mary's. This isn't the St. Mary's team that we thought we were going to see, but they are starting to play better. They're trending up. So this would be a tough 5-12 game. And it would be a trendy pick, I think, for a lot of people to pick the upset here. But I'm going to go BYU. Now we got Baylor, UC Irvine. UC Irvine is definitely capable of beating high major teams. We've seen them do it several times in the past, including this year. I'm going to go Baylor here to sneak out one. I think they have too much elite talent with Jacoby Walter, Ray J. Dennis. I think they pulled this one out. Now we got Bama versus Cincinnati or Seton Hall. Both Cincinnati and Seton Hall definitely having good seasons, probably exceeding expectations in a lot of ways. Seton Hall has that big win against UConn. Cincinnati just beat BYU the other day, almost beat Texas too. But I like Bama here. I like Bama's roster. Bama's got a good roster again this year. A lot of talent, a lot of good perimeter shot making as well. Now we got Illinois Morehead State. I think Illinois gets by Morehead State without issue. Now we got Iowa State Providence. Iowa State, one of the best defensive teams in the country. Providence is just kind of a good, solid, balanced squad. But I like Iowa State here. I love Iowa State defense. I think they kind of proved themselves to a lot of people by beating Houston the other day. It's a good, solid Iowa State team. They just need to find enough offense. And I think they find enough offense for one game that and they can get by Providence. Now, we got North Carolina St. Peter's. Let's go North Carolina. This ain't the same St. Peter's team as a couple years ago. It's almost entirely new guys for the most part. Okay, so we got Iowa State, North Carolina. I think Iowa State's just a little offensively challenged. And I think Mississippi State, one of the offensively challenged teams, I think will make it far. I picked Mississippi State in this bracket. So I'm going to go with North Carolina to beat Iowa State here. Now we got Illinois versus Bama. I think with or without Terrence Shannon Jr., Illinois could beat Bama here. Illinois has struggled to make it to the Sweet 16. They haven't made it to the Sweet 16 since 2005, I believe, which is crazy. I think this year is the year, with or without Terrence Shannon Jr. I think they'll be better, obviously, if we get Terrence back. But I'm going to go with Illinois to beat Bama. I think it's a fantastic game. I think that's a super fun game. I think it's very close. Goes down to the wire. Now we got BYU and Baylor, a game we just saw. Baylor just snuck out the win against BYU at home, but on a neutral site. I think BYU can beat Baylor in a neutral site. I think they outshoot them in that one. And I think that'd be a classic. Two high-scoring teams, two teams that love to shoot the three ball. That'd be a fun game. I think that could be one of the classics of the tournament if that game came true. Now we got UConn, Michigan State. UConn, Michigan State's an interesting game just because Michigan State has one of the best coaches in the country, obviously, in Tom Izzo. I think he can draw up an interesting game plan and make it close. I think he can make it close. But I think UConn is still probably, to me, full strength. I think UConn is the best team in college basketball. I've kind of believed that all year this year. I think they're the #1 team. Win full strength and everything's clicking. Now, it doesn't mean I think they're necessarily going to win it all, but I think they are the best team when everything's clicking just right. Now we got UConn versus BYU. It's been a good year for BYU. They've definitely exceeded expectations. They're only supposed to be 13th in the Big 12 is what the media poll predicted for them, which the media poll is often wrong. But I think UConn's too much for BYU. Unless BYU just got absolutely hot from the outside, I think UConn would win. Now, Illinois and North Carolina. I'm still not convinced about North Carolina yet in being an elite team. I'm not sold on it. I don't know why. I watched them play and I'm not convinced. So I'm going to go with Illinois actually beating North Carolina and getting to the Elite Eight for the first time in a long time since that 2005 season. Now we got Illinois and UConn. I think UConn is too much for Illinois. It ends here for Illinois. UConn on to the Final Four. So we got Purdue, Memphis, Kentucky, UConn. Let's stick on the right side of the bracket here. Kentucky's the winner of the region of chaos, and UConn gets out of the bottom right corner. And when there wasn't many upsets in this side of the bracket, actually there was none. But I'm going to go, I think UConn's just a better team here. I really do. I think UConn's the better team. I think the experience of UConn shines through, and Klingon was going to be a force to be reckoned with when he gets back healthy again. Cam Spencer on the outside. Cam Spencer is kind of like an in-between of like Calcaterra last year and Jordan Hawkins. Maybe closer to Jordan Hawkins in terms of impact, probably. He was such a good pickup for them. He's taken that next step. So give me UConn to get back to the national championship game. Now we got Purdue versus Memphis. I think the run ends for Memphis here. I think Purdue is too much. Now we got Purdue versus UConn. And such a good game here. You could go a bunch of different ways with this one. I'm going to go with Purdue to pull off the redemption arc and I'm going to say they do the same thing Virginia did in 2019. And they win it all after getting beat by a 16 seed. Let's go Purdue to win it all and beat UConn. And we'll say it was 70-68 in a close one. But yeah, that's what we got for today. We got Purdue versus UConn in the championship. Let me know what you guys think. And just comment anything you guys want. And it's been a fun one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.